Hi everybody, my name is Tori Earle and I am an Extension Specialist for 4-H Youth Development with the University of Kentucky's College of Agriculture, Food and Environment Cooperative Extension Service. We're here today to introduce you to this year's National 4-H STEM Challenge, which is called Mars Base Camp. Mars Base Camp is an experiment that contains 4 different segments that are designed to help us figure out how we're going to get people to Mars, how are we going to move around once we get up there, how are we going to sustain ourselves with food while we're on Mars, and then how are we going to send information back to Earth. Now some of you may be asking, is this different than the 4-H National Youth Science Day? The short answer is no, it's not that much different. Our friends at National 4-H Council and other land-grant universities that have helped develop experiments in the past realize that individuals and educators were not just using the 4-H National Youth Science Day on the day of the experiment or during the month of the experiment, but they were using it all year round. So what they did is they completely rebranded to the National 4-H STEM Challenge, and it is designed from the ground up to be used year round. So as we go through today and unbox some of the kits that you're going to get to see what's in them, and then in other segments we're going to go through the kits individually and each individual experiment to hopefully teach you how to use it and how to teach it either in person or maybe virtually. So as we start with this, let me say that another change this year is that we have 2 different kits. We actually have an educator kit, which is designed to accommodate up to 12 youth, and we also have family kits. The family kits are designed for 2 to 4 youth and can be ordered and done by a family at home. So we'll go through the educator kit, but I'll also tell you what's a little different in the family kit. So without any further ado, let's get started. The Facilitator guide that comes with your experiment kit is one of the best tools that you're going to have for walking you through each of the activities in the experiment. It's set up in a step-by-step format which will direct the facilitator to everything they need to do. Each one of the activities will have a set of goals and objectives at the beginning of it. We'll have a list of materials that are included in the kit that you will need to use. It'll have a suggested list of materials that might not be in the kit but you can source in other places, very simple things like office supplies, things like that. And then it will list the vocabulary words or the terminology that will be talked about within that activity. It will list some opening questions that you as a facilitator can ask. And it will also provide you reflection questions and things like that toward the end of the experiment. Each one of the activities is set up in a do, reflect, and apply format. Now this format allows participants to get their hands on and do the activity. Then they would reflect on some of the things they may have learned from the activity, which there are questions in your facilitator guide to help bring that about. Then the apply part is taking it to a real life situation or scenario. How would they apply that to what they want to do next? So in using your facilitator guide, please go through it, make sure that you know what all is in it, and it will be one of the biggest tools to help you in these activities. What we have here are the 2 different kits. The one on my right is the educator kit. The one on my left is the family kit. The main difference is the number of youth that the 2 kits will serve. The educator kit is designed to serve 12, whereas the family kit is designed to serve 2 to 4. We'll go through the differences in them. I'll talk to you about what is not in the family kit that is in the educator kit, and we're going to pull some stuff out and show you what is here for the different experiments. So as you open your box up, the first thing that you'll have is your facilitator guide. Now this facilitator guide will walk you through step by step how to do the experiments. It will also provide you scripts that you can use and talking points, as well as key vocabulary terms that youth will learn from each of the experiments. In addition to that, the educator kit contains 12 youth guides. Now this gives youth participating a chance to take notes, it gives some information about the different experiments, and it gives an idea of some of the things that they will need to do when they're doing an experiment. But as you go through the different things, there are 4 different parts to the entire experiment, Mars Base Camp. The first one is called Landing Zone Surveyor. And in Landing Zone Surveyor, you're going to receive a map of the surface of Mars, laid out on the floor. It's a vinyl map, so it's very durable. And on it are grid squares, A to D and 1 to 4. The idea is to land on Mars, you're going to have to get your lander to land on one of these grid squares. The landers themselves, like this, when they're boxed up, but when they're not boxed up, they look like this. It's a little parachute style lander. And we'll talk about how to conduct that in our next segment, but right now we're just going to go through what's in the kit and what goes with each experiment. Post-it notes go with the Landing Zone Surveyor. The post-it notes are for youth to mark the place where they have landed on the grid. When they land on a spot on the grid, they will get one of the landing cards, which, if you look, are coded A1, A2, all the way through D4, and they correspond to the grid squares. So whatever grid square they land on, they'll get to pick up one of these cards and learn a little bit more about that spot on the surface of Mars. Now, landings don't always go like we think they ought to. So there's a little bit of random things that could happen on a landing. So as they would land on a grid square, one of 2 things can happen. They can have a safe landing, depending on the grid square they land on, or another grid square they might land on, they would actually have to roll a die. And whatever numbers come up, they would look in their youth guide, or you would look in the facilitator guide, and see what the consequences were. Chances are some of them would have a safe landing and get to proceed. Others might have to go back and try the landing again. So that's what the die is for. And those are the 4 components to the Landing Zone Surveyor. The second of the experiments in the overall Mars Base Camp is called Red Planet Odyssey. And in Red Planet Odyssey, it deals with the moving around on Mars. So what you're going to get to do is build a rover for motion on Mars. Then you will also design an obstacle course to see if your rover can make it over or through that particular obstacle course. Now, in building the rover, it does come in pieces. There are instructions for building the rover in it, but feel free to get creative with it too, because as you'll see when we do the segment on building the rover, you might have to do a little modification of it from time to time. So keep that in mind. The educator kit comes with 3 of the rovers. The family kit comes with 1 of the rovers. And also, I forgot to mention on the Landing Zone Surveyor, the family kit comes with 1 lander and the educator kit comes with 4. The third experiment deals with growing our food on Mars, and that is called Crop Curiosity. Crop Curiosity is a card game, very similar to Canasta. Now, if you've never played Canasta, which I had not, the facilitator guide does walk you through and gives you a very good explanation of what each move is about, what you need to collect, what you need to try to avoid, and things like that. But it is a card game, and the idea of it is to collect the cards for the elements of the food process that you would need on Mars. And in doing that, you also have the Crop Curiosity collection cards, and these are all of the things that you would need to collect. There are 6 of these in the facilitator kit, or educator kit, excuse me, and there are 3 decks of the Crop Curiosity cards in the educator kit. Now, to keep track of what you've collected on the collection cards, the educator kit comes with 60 of these little place markers. The family kit comes with 20. There are 6 of these cards in the educator kit. There are 2 of those cards in the family kit. Now, in doing this, there are ways that you might be able to make the game last longer or last shorter. And when we go into that segment of Crop Curiosity with one of our videos, we'll talk about ways that you can do that. But Crop Curiosity is the third part of this year's 4-H STEM Challenge. The fourth part deals with what we've been working with the past couple of years in the National Youth Science Day, and that's computer science. And it is called Insight from Mars. You are sending back your story of what you have found on Mars to Earth. That's the scenario. In doing that, you're going to use Scratch programming, and there is a pre-built program for you to use. And then these cards are in the kit. They are Scratch action cards. Gives you a challenge on the front of it, and then on the back, if you need a little help, if you get a little stuck, challenges on the front, and the code that you would need to use to make you successful is on the back. So each one of those cards provides a challenge and a solution as well. The educator kit also comes with a USB drive. Now, the USB drive contains the majority of the printable materials that are in the kit. The family kit does not have a USB drive, but the majority of those printables are also going to be downloadable from the National 4-H STEM Challenge website. So that is the unboxing of the educator kit and the smaller family kit we did not unbox, but you saw basically everything that's in it as well. So our next video is going to be how to conduct the Landing Zone Surveyor Challenge.